Good morning, my friends. Welcome to the NeedleBugg. My name is Karen, and today we are finally going to do a stitch with me. It's been a while, I know. No excuses, just the fact that Karen needed a little bit of a break. So that's what we took, and now we are back today with a stitch with me. And as you can see, Fred is up for some love today. I'm zoomed out so that you can see what we have here is all that's left to stitch. All the rest of this is finished. So we just have the toe to do, and I am going to stitch today using my W stand, the frog. Gotta say, I love this stand. Just gotta get that little plug in there that I do absolutely love this stand. I had it along to a retreat. I'm gonna zoom you in so we can do some stitching here, but I had it at a retreat about 2 weeks ago, and it worked fantastic. Okay, so there. Move this over a little bit so you can see. Yeah, this is the bottom of the stocking. Okay, right along here is the edge. So what I'm going to do is fill in here and gradually just keep moving over towards the toe. Now, when you see me start to stitch, well, let me first welcome everybody. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but we've had quite a few new subscribers again. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the channel, and thank you so very much for checking us out and giving the channel a try. I really hope that you do find some things that you like here and will hang around for a while. I will entice you to say that on this channel, you never know what you're going to find. Things are a bit different every time. Well, sometimes it's just straight up stitching. Sometimes there's lots of bloopers. You just never know what is going to happen here at the NeedleBugg. And to all my folks that have been with me for a while, thanks so much for coming back and visiting with me today. As I said, then they will tell, and the people that have been here a while will tell you, you never know exactly what you're going to find. Such as is the case today, because I can hear them. I hear you guys. I hear you. I hear you. I hear the words, what in the world is she doing today? What in the world? Well, she has a big hoop, which is something she never uses, a big hoop like this. And it's on a stand, but she's sewing? Yeah. Doing the sewing method. So you will see that my fabric in the hoop is pretty floppy. It's not tight. It's not tight at all. It is pretty floppy. My left hand has been bothering me again, so that's why it's in the stand. And I'm sewing because that is a bit faster than sticking and stabbing, and we all know that Karen wants to get this puppy done. Now, what I have found is that by sewing, it is in fact faster. And I have found that I'm doing it often enough now that my stitches are getting neater all the time, which makes me happy. When I first started doing the sewing method, oh my, it was not a good sight. It was not good at all. But I have found that they are looking neater. So there is something to be said for just hanging in there and keep trying, and it will get better. Now, sometimes because I can't get the angle because I'm closer to the hoop, I have to stab it to make that stitch. But the other thing I found, and I think I'm going to sneeze, so pardon me in advance. Oh, see, there it was. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer for you so you can see this a little bit better. There we go. The other thing I found, and if you notice, I am not going across and back, or across with each stitch and then back the next row with each stitch. I'm working my rows vertically. And why is that, you ask? Well, I'm working them that way because the flow of being able to stitch works better for me. And if you notice, my needle is always going right to left and then right to left again up to the next stitch. So it's more comfortable to stitch in this direction. Now I have to get my hand underneath here to push up to get in the hole correctly. But it's all about comfort. And sometimes I miss the hole and I go in. Did you see what I did there? I went in the wrong hole. It happens sometimes. But I find it easier to stitch working vertically, and my stitches look neater that way. It's all about what's comfortable for you, and it's much more comfortable for me to work this direction. And my stitches are looking neater in this direction. So that's what I have been doing. And I really am rather enjoying it. Now, obviously this is a Heaven and Earth design because it's it's Sir Frederick Frosty, lovingly known as Fred. But right now, he has just, the rest of this is just big blocks of color. Okay, so right now I'm doing 3840, and it's a big chunk of color. So this method is perfect. most of the colors that I have to finish, which is very, very few. This is all I have. I'm pretty close here. It's all I have to finish anymore. It's less than 10. It will be easy to do them as a sewing method and get a chunk of color done at a time. Now, will this work just as well when I'm doing one that has a lot of confetti? I don't know. I do not know that answer because I have not tried that yet. So one step at a time, one experiment at a time. Although sometimes there's more than one at a time. You guys all know that. Yeah. But see, this is just, you can just, now normally if I'm not going to put it on a stand, I will just use I don't know, is it a 3 or a 4-inch hoop, and just, stick with a small area, move the hoop around more often. The one I normally use when I'm stitching that way is this. Well, there's my other thread. No wonder I couldn't find it. Is this hoop. Oh, geez. Yeah. This little, I think it's a Hardwick Manor. Yeah, it's a Hardwick Manor hoop. There you go. Yeah. And I can move it quite easily and, get the stitching done that I am intent on doing that day. And it works just fine. And the reason it works fine is because it is not larger than the palm of my hand. Remember, I often talk about, if you're going to hold a hoop in your hand, I know lots of people use all different size hoops. For myself, if I am stitching in a hoop and I am holding that hoop in my hand, I never want the hoop to be larger than the reach of my fingers. So the largest hoop I will use ever is a 5-inch hoop, because anything larger than that, I can't feel the back of the work. And to be able to feel the back of the work is how you avoid the knots and the tangles. So even when working like this, in this large hoop, this is like a 10-inch one. Yeah, 10-inch one. I still have my hand underneath here for 2 reasons. 1, to feel what's going on the back, and 2, to be able to manipulate the fabric so that I can sew as opposed to push and pull. Because the way you do this is much like a quilter would be hand quilting. You go down, this is her first part of her stitch, and then she wants to take a little bite of fabric, so she's pushing up so that the needle will rock, and you get that little stitch. Okay, so the needle will rock. She can rock her needle and go across multiple stitches, where I'm just going to go across one. Okay, but now do you see I came down that row already? How fast was that? It was awesome, because the other day, I didn't stitch yesterday. Well, I did stitch a little bit yesterday when I was trying to record this video. And I actually did talk for a half an hour to 45 minutes, thinking I was doing a video. Well, much to my surprise, I never hit record. So I sat here talking to the wall, doing a little bit of stitching, and never recorded the video. Never hit record. So that's why it's happening today instead of yesterday. Oh my God. I was so mad at myself, I could have kicked myself. Okay, but anyway, back to what I was saying, that that is how a quilter manipulates her fabric if she's hand quilting, is that underneath hand pushes up on the fabric so that she can rock her needle to take just little bites of fabric when quilting. So in essence, what I'm doing here is just exactly the same thing. And it's wonderful in the fact that there's no stitch there. It's going so much faster. I mean, I can now, well, granted, I probably could if I was sticking and stabbing too, if I spent a lot of solid time stitching. I'm averaging between 300 and 400 stitches a day. You know, for some people that's a lot. For other people it's mediocre, and for some it's like, oh, only that many. But at that rate, I should have this done somewhere in the neighborhood of the 4th of July. If I can do that many stitches a day. And doing this sewing method, it's easily accomplished. So in all honesty, I have not been monogamous on Fred. I have worked on some other things. So if I get tired of stitching nothing but blue, it's kind of getting the feeling like all the black, then I'll put it down and I'll work on something else that doesn't have blue in it. Yeah. And then, oh my, and then I knew it, but I popped back in my head yesterday of, oh, Adam's sampler. That's not sampler, Adam's stocking. As soon, oh, sorry, I bumped my head on the camera. As soon as I finish this, I really should be starting on Adam's stocking so that it doesn't go forever and a day until he gets his. And that one is predominantly blue. But the saving grace of it will be the fact that, well, it'll be a new start. I do have a little bit started, but it'll be a new, rarely before worked on project. So essentially, it's pretty much like a new start. Yeah. Wait a second. I think it will be a new start. Isn't that the... I'm trying to remember now. Help me remember, guys. Isn't that the one I was starting to work on? And it was in my lap. And I dozed off with a cup of coffee with creamer in it in my hand. And I kind of spilled on it. Isn't that the one? Oh, I caught my end in here. Phooey, phooey, phooey. Wasn't that the project I did that to? I'm kind of thinking it was. I'm kind of pretty sure it was. So it may just be a new start. Okay, where is this end? It should be right in here somewhere. Close. And I don't want to try and unstitch it because that's when I catch everything terribly wrong. Oh, did I do it? Oh, I did it all the way back there. There it is. Okay, come on. Which one are you? There it is. Which one are you? Come on. Yes, I talk to myself and I talk to my stitching, and yeah. Oh, you guys will get you know, you're used to my shenanigans. Okay, what's that? That would be the end. Soon time for a new piece of thread here, folks. Okay. But this really does go pretty fast. I mean, I should auto mark my stuff off before I get lost, but I know I'm in a section of, it's just all the same color. So let's see. Let's give you the info. Well, so far today I've done 47 stitches. Just this little bit of time. We have 9,000. We have 9,381 stitches to go. And we are at 87.8%. So that is, why is this on my screen? There we go. Get rid of that. Yeah, so it says now I will be done by July 7th. And that is 26 days from now. So I'm averaging 373 stitches a day. So if I can get a little bit past that every day, I can maybe knock some time off of the completion date. But, you know, really, as long as I have it finished in July, I will be totally happy with that. So I think been thinking about this, and I think what we're going to do to keep Karen motivated to get this finished sooner rather than later is to record some more Stitch with Me's where I'm working on it and maybe jabbering about nothing, or maybe sometimes it might even be a little quiet because I don't have anything else to say. It's not always the easiest thing coming up with things to talk about when you're recording these Stitch with Me's. We're well, we're no spring chickens anymore. We're older, and truth be told, we really don't go many places. We're kind of pretty much homebodies, except for doctor's appointments, groceries, and to go see our daughter and the grandkids. And pretty much that's probably the extent of what we do now. Yes, I go to the occasional retreat, but really, there's not much else that we do, and so there isn't a whole lot of things to talk about. So when Karen says she's Mr. and Mrs. No Life, I'm really not kidding. We truly are Mr. and Mrs. No Life. And then she doesn't know how. Well, she does know how, but the needles just wanted to be stubborn today. However, all of that, I was to a retreat. Almost 2 weeks ago it was. Not this weekend that we just finished, but the weekend before I was at a retreat called Flower Power, and it was held over at a Hilton hotel over in Easton, Pennsylvania, which is near Allentown and Bethlehem. So, and it was great fun. We had a blast. I'm gonna have to thread this needle again. What I should do is just change my thread while I'm at it, but I gotta get this one ended off. Yes, we had a wonderful, wonderful time. I met up with 2 of my subscribers over there, and and they sat with Barb and I, and then it's always kind of fun when somebody recognizes you, and maybe they can't always place how they or why they recognize you, and you say, well, do you watch YouTube? And then the light bulb goes on, and it's, you're her? Yes, I am. So that's always fun, and you met some lovely people. There we go. So I will, at the end of this video, I'll edit in some pictures of, I just took a few pictures from the retreat. I had intended to do a video, but I just didn't get that far. You know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm not even going to turn it over. I'm just going to do an away thinger. Yeah. And work over that thread. I fixed a piece of, I think it was Lugana. It was one of the even, well, all our fabric is even weave, but this was one that people call even weave as opposed to linen and what have you. So I repaired a hole in a piece of fabric for someone, and that always takes a bit of time. And jokingly, it was true, but it is kind of funny. We got there Thursday around noontime, and the retreat actually started about that time, Thursday afternoon, and we were there till Sunday at noon. So that's Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday till about noon. And I stitched a grand total of let me look at my stitch counts here. Yeah, there it is. A grand total of 79 stitches. Oh my. So don't let anybody kid you. You don't always get a lot of stitching done at a retreat. However, like I said, I did my good deed and repaired a piece of fabric that had a hole in it for someone. And there was always other things, talking to other stitchers, and yeah, it was just a fun time. Just a fun time. Okay. Now I will say this, for those of you that do try and repair fabric, if you for some reason get a hole in it, if you do the method that I have a video of and have shown how to do, which is actually replacing the thread, I will say that when you're weaving in that new thread, now the way I do it is start the thread that you're inserting to replace what was cut or torn. Start that away from the hole alongside of an existing thread, and then you're doing your over under. You go across the open area, and then you do your over under, and kind of fade it out. When you're doing that repair looks much neater on a linen as opposed to a Lugana. With the Lugana, I found that it was truly very obvious that there had been a repair there. It wasn't as discreet, I guess maybe the word, as if you do it on linen. I've done repairs on linen and used that exact same method, and you virtually could not tell where that repair was. Now, my rationalization of why that is, what's this thing? Oh. My rationalization to that is the fact that linen threads, fabric threads, are of an inconsistent size. Okay, when you're stitching on linen, it's kind of like the Armor hot dog song. It's fat threads, skinny threads. But you have threads that are thicker, threads that are thinner. You have places where you get the slubs. So it's inconsistently consistent, meaning that all the pieces are not consistent, but you end up with consistently that same thread count. Okay? If that made total not sense to anybody. So when you replace a thread, because that piece of fabric thread that you take from the edge of your fabric and you reweave it into the middle of your fabric, because that's as inconsistent as the rest of the threads, you don't seem to notice it after you have done the repair. And you can lay threads aside. What I do is lay the threads side by side, but because one might be thicker or thinner than the other, and when you're done, you kind of just take that whole fabric and stretch it out, or pull it corner to corner, and it just kind of, those threads just kind of blend right in, and it's you have a hard time seeing where the repair was. Now, when you do that on a piece of Lugana, for example, Lugana threads are consistently consistent. So threads in Lugana, or your what people call their even weave fabric, they're always the same. They're always the same. They're always the same thickness. So when you place two threads, when you use the same method of side by side to repair that hole, it starts to look sort of, come on here, needle. It starts to look sort of like when you look at the edge of your fabric, okay? If you haven't cut off that salvage edge. Oh my goodness, do you think I could think of that? Whew. If you look at the salvage edge and you can see how, I don't know if you want to say crowded, or where you can actually see the threads doubled, where they came across and then didn't cut that thread, so they upped over the end thread and went back, and how your salvage edge is much thicker than the rest of your fabric. Well, that's what the repair started looking like on a piece of Lugana, because I'm laying threads side by side and it's looking thicker because those threads, A, they are thicker, B, they are consistently the same size. So it does repair differently than a piece of linen repairs. That being said, it was enough, or the repair will be all right in the fact that she'll be able to complete her stitches in that area. Okay? There is not that much showing past that area that's not stitched over. So I said to her, you know, what you can do is put some bling there. You know, put a button there, or put a charm there, or, you know, add something to the piece to kind of cover what's left of that repair. So that could very well be what she's going to do. I'll be anxious to see how that works out for her. But, you know, repairs can be done. Absolutely can be done. They are a bit of a tedious process. Now, the one thing that is important when you're doing that, and makes the whole thing neater, is, you know, you're going to have those little fabric thread ends. And if you let that end stay on the good side of your work, you could end up with little areas of fuzzies there that are going to add to the not so great look of the repair. So what you want to remember to do is to pull those ends to the back. You know, if you're not replacing, you know, on the linen and on a piece of counted cross stitch, you probably are not replacing back to an area that is stitched or back out to the edge of the fabric, because you may not have that option. Unlike, for example, a piece of hardanger where you can just replace that thread between the two cluster blocks. Again, not having to go out all the way to the edge of the fabric, but you have stitching that you can anchor that fabric thread to, repair that cut thread that wasn't supposed to be cut, and then another area that you can anchor the other end to. So it makes it way less obvious doing that. And you don't have to deal with the little fuzzies on the ends of the fabric threads, where with replacing linen, you do, and you don't want that. You know, those little fuzzies coming up are going to detract from a good appearance for that repair. So you want to make sure that you get all of those pulled to the back. So, I mean, it is time consuming. It takes a while to repair a hole. I'm not exactly sure how she got the hole in the first place, but Again, people, there's no right and wrong ways, okay? There, it's all what works for you. I know what happened to me a long, long time ago is when I used a Q-snap, and before, when I was much younger and dumber, before I started putting something between my fabric and the snap, and had difficulty getting the snap part off, I would slide it out to either one side or the other and slide it off. And you really, really, really need to be careful when doing that, because that is how I got a hole in my fabric, from sliding it, because there was an edge somewhere that caught on the fabric and it just tore it. And again, like I said, there's no right or wrong way. If that's how you do it and you're comfortable and you're not having issues, fine. But I just give a word of caution that it's better, my own opinion is, it's better for me to put a piece of fabric, a piece of cotton, a piece of muslin, a piece of whatever, in between my stitching and the clamp, and to have enough excess sticking out from underneath the clamp that when I go to take it off, I can pull that fabric up and that pops the clamp off, thereby avoiding tearing my fabric from the clamp of the Q-snap. Again, it's just a suggestion. Do with it as you wish. You can tell me I'm wackadoodles, which you're probably correct. But I think that's why we're here. That's why I do these videos. Not that I'm not a professional. I am self-taught. I have been stitching for a very, very long time. I've had many experiences with my stitching, so it's just something that I learned along the way, that it was better for me to make sure I had that fabric underneath there so that I could do just exactly that, is get a hold of that fabric, pull up on it, and that would snap the Q-snap off without damaging anything. Some people use ribbons to do that, because then the ribbon is also used to secure all the excess fabric. Because, well, let me tell you, Heaven and Earth designs are huge and you have a lot of fabric to deal with. So, yeah, there has to be a way to do that too. But you will find what works for you, and that's why I say we are all here to share our experiences. And what works for me may or may not work for you, but it's maybe something that, oh, maybe that would work. Oh, I think I'll try that. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. You tried, you have another option, and you take it from there. Not every recommendation works for everybody, and that is just a fact of life. Oh my goodness, I actually dribbled on for 50 minutes. Can you believe that? So let's mark off some more stitches here. And and see how many we have completed. I'm not sure if we hit 100 or not, but we'll have to see. Okay, let's see. Great reveal. 93. Well, now, folks, that's not too shabby, because when Karen does Stitch With Me videos, she doesn't always get a whole lot of stitches done. So to get 93 done was quite a welcome change. So I think, my friends, we are going to call it a day today. I am probably going to keep on stitching on Fred, because now we only have 9,335 stitches to go. Wowzers. I just looked at the start date for this. Now, granted, we all know Karen has truly procrastinated on this one. Stitched a bit, put it away. Got it out and stitched a bit, put it away. I've been doing that since May of 2022. We have passed the 2-year mark. It is time to get Fred finished. So we are at that point where the end is truly near, because the total stitches on this was 76,906. And now we have less than 10,000 to go. So we're getting in good shape. And we will have this finished by the beginning of July. So with that, my friends, I am going to call it a day. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, have a great week, and I will be back. The plan is probably Thursday, because Friday, Nana's having a Nana Day with her granddaughter. And then Monday, she's having a Nana Day with her grandson. So, got to fit videos in around those. So, I will catch you hopefully very soon, and I will see you next time.